I'm excited because this is the first time that we've got a guest.
A guest or a victim? We'll let him decide after. So,
out of the 4 people that are going to watch this thing.
Exactly. Well, I know my wife and kids watch it, so there you go. Yeah, so excited today because my former colleague and friend Josiah Tam has agreed to join us and be grilled a little bit. So just to we'll let Josiah talk about himself, but just a little bio on him. So Josiah was trained at Le Cordon Bleu in London, so classically French trained chef. He unfortunately had to work with me at Pearl Bistro and Oyster Bar in White Rock for a year and a half, 2 years, I think, while I was restaurant director there. Then he was sous chef at the Alma Mater Society of UBC. And then, his most recent restaurant odyssey was as chef and owner of Barrique Kitchen and Wine Bar and Alora in White Rock. So Josiah, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. There's nothing unfortunate about working with you. That was the highlight.
Was it a highlight? Okay.
It was a highlight. Most days.
Really, because I've got a small group of people that have worked with Steve before, and we're going to get a support group together.
Years of therapy.
Something that involves alcohol.
Yes.
I'm willing to be the president.
Yeah, exactly. So Josiah, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I'm particularly really excited to speak to you because not only was I a customer at your store in White Rock, but I was really interested in particular around COVID. And we thought, Steve and I experienced COVID in very different ways, but what a great opportunity it is to get to a, chef, young owner. This I think this was your first go at owning your own restaurant, which is nuts. And then to have COVID thrown in your face. So I thought let's talk to you a little bit about that, and then how, from an operations point of view, how did you tell us what you're thinking and what you tried?
So we opened Barrique 2 years before the pandemic, January of 2018. So 2020 was supposed to be like banner year, first profitable year, all of that, and then the hammer dropped. There's so much to talk about, but kind of the beginning of it was that first week where just like the couple days before they shut things down, we were kind of seeing it coming. There was one day where I looked at my sous chef and we're just like, no, we're not opening our dining room tonight. It's not going to happen. So we took inventory of what we had. We put together what we call a family dinner, takeout menus, put a couple quick posts up on Instagram and sold those out pretty quickly. And at that point, it was like 2 days later, they fully shut down everything. And we kind of we stepped back, don't know what all of this is. So we closed our doors for 3 weeks, I think, until the bank account really started to get down to nothing. And we had to do something because those clear support wasn't going to be there yet. So yeah, fried chicken is what came next.
So you went from French to fried chicken. Tell me about that.
Fine dining French, a 5-course and a 7-course tasting menu along with a la carte, big wine list, all the things to fried chicken. Yeah.
So why fried chicken?
Because everybody likes fried chicken, right? Nobody hates fried chicken. If you do, I'm not your friend. We had an appetizer on the menu that was like little fried chicken bites, like bonus thighs. We called it honey butter chicken. It was like these nice gluten-free chicken thigh bites that were tossed in rosemary, honey, and some butter, and they were delicious. So just kind of like sitting at home as everybody else was, looking at what was going on around there out in the world, like following all the restaurant accounts and everything. And there's a mix of like people trying to do what they normally did in takeout form. There was people doing crazy out of the left field kind of things like fried chicken. And then there's people doing nothing. And that kind of like echoed with like colleagues of my own as well, that it was a mix of how everybody was approaching it. So our goals were to be able to do something that people could afford. that people could do regularly, and would want to do regularly. Something that we could execute with minimal staff, so we didn't have too many people in the same place at once. A lot of our staff was part-time, and the conversations where we would just prefer to go on serve or EI at this point because I've got a grandma at home, I've got a sick parent, or those kind of things. So there's like a big mix in our staff of what people wanted to do and who wanted to work and who didn't want to work. So it kind of broke down to about 4 of us that were like, okay, we'll do whatever we need to do. So fried chicken, we knew we had a good recipe for the fried chicken. We knew it was gluten-free. It appealed to a lot of people. And we could do it easily. We could do it quickly, and we could be profitable off it.
Yeah. So Josiah, I mean, obviously you reinvented the business model kind of on the fly, made a major shift and, to strictly takeout. So, but were there any sort of unexpected challenges you faced in sort of making that pivot? Like, all this was unexpected, but what else sort of popped up?
We had to tweak our ordering system a few times. The way we did it is we didn't want to be taking like phone call orders and like, okay, we got to make this chicken on the fly, that kind of stuff. So we released it in week-long blocks. So it was the Thursday before the Monday. We put out, this is how much chicken we're doing each day. Orders are live. And for the first like month, it consistently sold out within 10, 15 minutes. It was kind of nuts. Like, it was one of those things where you throw something out into the world and you hope that it sticks, and often it doesn't. But I remember sitting there on my phone, like ding, 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 just orders coming in. And, so we had to like tweak the back end a few times of like how we set that up, how the orders could come in, how our tickets printed out, just so service wise we could have a plan and schedule what times people were picking up, all that kind of stuff. And then pretty quickly into doing it, I think it was about 2 weeks in, our initial chicken supplier got hit with avian flu. So no more chickens from them.
Insult to injury.
Yeah, so then it was like on the fly sourcing chicken, and like from the beginning our thing was always like good quality ingredients, trying to work with local ingredients, all that kind of stuff. So we didn't really want to compromise that. So it was like just a scramble of like, hey, who's got chicken? Where can we find chicken? That kind of thing. So
because you were buying whole hens and then
yeah, we bought full chickens. I think we were bringing in like something like 20 cases of full birds like every couple days. Like it was insane. Our knives did a workout. Our hands were full of calluses, and we got really good at breaking down chickens.
Can't imagine.
Really good.
But just because I'm a bit of a technology dork, like, what were you using in the background? Like, what was this a platform you already had sort of on your website, or is this something you had to sort of adopt and then adapt?
Yeah, I'm digging back here in the memory. So we initially started it with, we just went on Square's like free online, put up an online store kind of thing. And we did it with that. And then we, in anticipation of reopening the restaurant, we switched our reservation platform from OpenTable to Talk. And one of Talk's big things was that they had like a back end kind of system dedicated to like private events and online ordering and stuff like that. So then we switched it to that. But even within those two, it was just like, okay, we're going to try this. We think this is going to work. And then, like this order fell through the cracks and we didn't see it. Or like those kind of like little, I mean, we've worked service, all those little things, right? Yeah.
That's good. But sorry, Robin, go ahead.
You can't make chicken out of no chicken. Like,
that's the thing. Yeah.
Somebody says, I'm here to pick up my order and it's 12 breasts or whatever. And you go,
sorry
about that. Who are you?
And we did have like, and another hurdle too was like, we had like the neighborhood we were in had a lot of elderly people, right? So a lot of people that weren't super handy with technology, but it was kind of, we had to set our line in the sand of like, this is what we're capable of. We can't do more than, we would love to do everything for everybody, but at a certain point you have to do everything well that you're going to do. So there was, it just kind of became the reality of it, right? So we'd have people stopping by saying they wanted to order chicken. I'm like, sorry, you can't, like, oh, but I don't have a phone. do you have a daughter or a granddaughter that can place an order for you? And that happened. Like, there was a lot of people where like this guy would just like pick up his landline and call his daughter and get her to place a chicken order for him. Like those kind of things were, it was kind of cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So maybe, yeah, you touched on the customer engagement a little bit. So like, when you always did a really good job on your social media, I think. So
Thank you.
I think you were basically kind of set and you had a lot of followers anyway. So, but like, so how did your customer engagement and communication work then? Was it just strictly social or, you know,
Social and like email blasts, like newsletters.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And then at some point, like global news picked it up and food bloggers started talking about it. So the news kind of started to spread a little bit. Like we would get the occasional person coming in from North Van to get chicken. Like it was just
That's,
kind of random. I'm like, you guys know that Download Chicken is like 20 minutes from you, but you're driving away. Or thank you, appreciate it. But yeah.
that's great. I mean, but I mean, how did that make you feel though? Like just, to put this out there and then, yeah, it's sold out for what? We say 10 minutes, and then like I mean, that's gotta kind of put your mind at ease a little bit.
Yeah, when you know where rent money's going to come from, where you know where the salaries are going to come from, that was huge. Especially like, I mean, sitting at home watching the bank account dwindle, and we were very lucky with our landlord. He like deferred rent without any penalty for a little bit and worked with us, and but still, there's just supplier bills to be paid, and the inevitability was that we were going to open at some point, and you don't want to reopen a business with zero money. You can't, right?
Yeah.
The reopening inventory of that is just, you have to have money in the bank, and for this to be successful and it was probably the most profitable thing we ever did. To be honest, I should have just shut the whole thing and reopened as a fried chicken spot permanently.
What did your wife say when you said, "Babe, we're gonna do fried chicken, and that's all we're gonna do"?
Yeah, I mean, my wife's just super supportive. She just, yeah, do whatever. She was apprehensive about me going back to work to begin with. My wife works in healthcare, so she works with LifeLab, so she was seeing all the tests and everything. She was seeing the very harsh reality of that. I mean, she went to work and would have to put a mask on and then a face shield and then like a hazmat suit, basically. Like, so she was in it. So she was a little nervous about me being back out in the real world, as I think a lot of people were at that point. But business-wise, she said, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So,
Yeah, that's great, awesome.
yeah,
I got more questions, but I'll let Robin have a say.
Thanks.
sounds good.
So clearly, the chicken was a success. You're back to paying some bills. You're keeping your core group alive, yourself and a Sue and maybe one or two other people, and then now restaurants are going to reopen again. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the thinking. Say, well, hold on, we're doing okay as we are. The restaurants were reopened, but only on a very small scale. I mean, you were lucky you had that front patio, and then there was even more around the other side there that really, I think you guys didn't use very, very much. But like, tell me about the rollback plan.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we started seeing people reopen. We didn't want to be the first people back open. We were kind of leaders in our community of the takeout program and stuff, and it was working well for us. And as long as that was going to keep paying some bills, it made sense to keep doing it. So we kind of just watched what our friends were doing. And then when we reopened, our thought process was that we can't reopen as the original Barrique. I mean, quite frankly, it was an expensive restaurant, right? It wasn't insanely expensive, but it was higher priced than a lot of the restaurants in the community. And we felt it was probably a lot to ask of the majority of our guests who maybe were unemployed at the moment or their businesses were suffering to come back and pay that full price. So we opened as what we call Barrique 2.0. Fried chicken played a part in our menu. We had fried chicken sandwiches, we had fried chicken entrees, we did like some pastas, and it was kind of like a more upscale casual kind of idea.
So you abandoned the French cuisine totally, or there was kind of that undercurrent still there, or what were you? Because I mean, I'm sure you didn't want to give up on all that.
Yeah, I mean, we did the main ethos of the restaurant of doing things by hand and doing things well still stayed. but we also, to be honest, it was kind of fun too because we had been very strict of like our menu needs to be French, it needs to be this, this, this.
Right.
But when we reopened, we're like, let's do a fried chicken sandwich. Let's do a pork chop with a nuck chum salad on top of it. Like so we had some fun with it. Fried chicken remained a part of our business for the next year and a half to 2 years probably. It wasn't all the time, but as like they would do rolling closures and hey, guess what? You can't sell any, you can't be open for the next month in your dining room or whatever, then fried chicken kicked in. And it was just kind of always this thing that was sitting on the back burner that we could fall back on. And there was always demand for it because especially since we took it away, then people were like, oh man, I miss my fried chickens. So then we could bring it back and it would sell out again. So no.
So did you entertain the idea of opening the dining room and still maintaining some kind of takeout chicken program at the same time?
We did it for a little bit. But our kitchen was smaller than my kitchen at home, and I don't have a big kitchen at home. So it was just logistically, it was damn near impossible. Like we couldn't keep up to it. And it goes back to not being able to do something well, so we're not going to do it at all. Yeah.
So what were so that's an operational challenge, right? I mean, having the small kitchen. So were there any, any other operational challenges you ran into with this?
The first couple days, it was like figuring out timing of things. How long does it take to cook 12 chicken orders at once? We ripped out our little grill by our stove and we put in another deep fryer. So we had 2 deep fryers. It was a lot of those just like in the moment logistical things of like, oh, we didn't realize it was actually going to physically take this long to cook, season, box, bag, staple, take out to the door for our 8 orders at 5:15, right? It was those kind of things. It was like, okay, maybe we need to reduce how many orders we do per 15-minute slot. So just a lot of like in the moment troubleshooting, which was a very normal thing for all of us. So that wasn't too new.
Yeah, I know. It's just a comment. I know, like on the times I partook in the fried chicken, it was when I got it home, it was still hot and steamy and delicious. So yeah, still crispy. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we enjoyed it. But I think maybe you can comment that maybe being a small operation, like allowed you to be more nimble, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were such a small business. I mean, the like ownership wise, it was me and my dad that owned it, me and my parents that owned it. And they have no restaurant experience, so they were fully silent. And his decisions just came down to me. I mean, for better or for worse, it meant that I was the accountant, photographer, social media manager, chef, janitor, plumber, electrician, all those things. But it also meant that when we were noticing a trend of maybe 3 days in a row something wasn't working, then we switched it. So we were able to implement things and change on the fly a lot quicker than a lot of our colleagues were.
No, that's great. Yeah, you did such a great job with it.
Sorry, Steve. I'm willing to put it out there. I admit, I did COVID wrong. Okay, like I can remember sitting in the lobby of the Weston Bayshore when they started calling all their people together to start their layoffs, and me and my team, because we were doing inventory control there, and I'm like, this is crazy. Why are they laying everybody off? This is going to be a few days. This is going to be a week. Okay, 2 weeks, like max. And wow, I was as wrong as I've ever been. And I know that I would certainly do that differently if we had to do it again, and recognizing that nobody's been through this, like nobody, and nobody really knew what was coming. And from that perspective, would you do something different? Would you? Are you really happy? I mean, I think the fact that you got some business going, you must be happy with what you did. But what would you, in retrospect, saying, okay, if we're going to do it again, I would do X?
That is a loaded question.
Or lessons learned, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like you, when we first closed the doors, I figured 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Okay, let's ride this out. Let's sit at home. It's not worth getting sick over. And it was that at that like 3.5 week point where I was like, okay, this is not ending anytime soon. So then that's when we started making the plans. What would I do differently? Man, there's been moments where I said I should have just closed everything at that moment and moved on with my life. Took on a lot of debt during COVID to stay open.
Could that be the one thing? Like, would you just bring on the debt? Would you look at now and say, look, take it for granted that you needed to do it. But is that your kind of the number one thing? Because I mean, I'm the same. I'm the same way.
I think I would have maybe taken on. I still would have taken on debt to keep it open, but I would have maybe taken on a little less debt, because everybody's thing was like, okay, this is just like the Spanish flu, and in 2 years we're all going to be rich and we're all going to be throwing money around, and so we had the mindset of, okay, there's a zero interest loan here. Why don't we take some money, invest a little bit into the business, fix a couple of things that need to fix. Maybe we switch this up so that when we're fully reopened, we have the capacity, we're ready for it. And that never really happened. There was glimpses of it. But I mean, I am now not in the restaurant industry. I sold my restaurant, almost 6 months ago now, 7 months ago. But I'm still industry adjacent. I work in the liquor industry now. And I'm still seeing it out there. It's not back to 2019 yet. So I think maybe taking on a little bit less debt, and maybe cutting my losses completely. I don't know. It's hard to say. Well, but then I would have felt like I gave up. So I don't know.
I was like you. I figured once the doors open, we're just going to be back to where we were, right? Like we're gonna. We were doing so many dollars a week. Okay, maybe we'll come back within 30% of that, within certainly 70-80% of where we were, and then there'll be some stragglers. And I was worried about, how are we going to get everybody back on board again, and that kind of stuff. And man, that was just not my problem. It really has been. It's end of 2024, and I'm still not back to where I was 2019. And so, bringing on that debt at the time, I was like, this is gonna be no problem, right? Because if sales volumes come back to where they were, I should have no problem. I got a year, 2 years, 3 years to save up that 60 grand or 40 grand so that you can keep the 60. But that did not
needed that money, and it never happened. And we're seeing that so much now. I mean, there's been so many great restaurants that are closing, especially in Vancouver, right? And the reality is that those loan payments are coming out now, and that money's just not there. When you run small percentage margins in that business, there's just the money's not there to pay it back.
Well, and I think in the economy, and arguably the economy is doing okay, but the inflation and the price increases so quickly, right? People keep saying, "Oh, young people are drinking way less than they used to." I'm like, well, are they, or can they just not afford to drink as much as we used to, right? So I mean,
or they're just drinking cheaper, worse stuff, maybe.
Yeah, or as much as I used to. Yeah, but going out to restaurants and bars nowadays is not cheap. I mean, I was out at a restaurant in Tacoma last night, and $14-15 US dollars for an old fashioned. Same thing up here, Canadian dollar. So a $16 cocktail is just what they cost now, right?
I paid 18 US for a Negroni in San Francisco last month.
Yeah, so I mean, like people have a hard time doing that and paying that. So either when they do go out, they go to less expensive places, or they just go out less, right? And then when they do go out, they maybe just have one drink and an entree. They're not having the multi-course, multi-drinks and a bottle of wine thing too, right? So I'm not surprised, right? But I think, Robin, I mean, you see and talk to guys all over the U.S. with Barmetrics. The experience down there is a little bit different. I don't know if Vancouver is just unique in that it was already expensive, and now we've just made it more expensive, and people are choosing between, I got to pay my rent and pour gas in the car, or go out for dinner, right? And
I think a lot of it comes out of population too. I mean, like you take a look at the number of people in California versus here. There just isn't enough people. So that certainly that's part of it. But here, I think there has been a culling. Right, there's certainly the restaurants that were on the bubble before, or weren't really being careful with their costs and weren't really taking care of the numbers. Either haven't survived or aren't going to survive. Like they've just gone so far into hawk that they're giving their restaurants away. Right, they're just handing the keys to the landlord and saying, I'm sorry. And so, but on the other hand, like I've got several of my clients that are scooping those up. Right, so yeah, I got one that's opening two more, and somebody is asking me on a regular basis, Robin, what's out there for sale? I want it. Okay, great. So, so those people, but they're either new to the market or they've got another industry kind of behind them too. So it is all about deep pockets, and we'll see. I think that culture wise, Florida and those tourist places, and I think they're still doing as good as ever. Whether Kent, Montana, and their local restaurants are surviving, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's really hard to put all your eggs in one restaurant basket. You can be good with your costs, you can be good with your margins, everything. And then two fridges break down on a weekend, and chicken's 10% higher this week, and it kind of just throws everything off.
Yeah.
Or you've got two employees that are sick, and you have to pay them sick time, but you have to also bring on extra labor and pay for that too. And it's just there's so many things that are variables that I think a lot of people just don't think about when they go out for dinner. And complain about a $25 burger when that burger should probably be $35, to be quite honest. So
Well, that's it, and it's the sides and things I'm becoming more appreciative of. Like I can cook a steak at home as well as anybody else out there, but it's all the sides that I just don't have the energy to make. Right?
yeah.
So I think that's great. We've taken up a whole bunch of your time, Josiah. I really appreciate it, and again, congratulations on how much of your thinking and your inspiration and everything else paid off. Well done. I think that I couldn't be more happy for you that's done. The next time we talk, you're gonna have to tell me, how you decided to leave the restaurant business and get into the supply side. But that's a story for another time.
yeah.
So although I don't want to leave it on the doom and gloom, and the restaurant industry is terrible though.
That's
right?
French for the restaurant industry.
Yeah, nobody's making any money, and everything sucks. So, Josiah, were there any silver linings? Like anything that when you look back, you go, you know what, that actually worked out well, and sort of silver linings or positive lessons learned through the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I love that industry. I love the restaurant industry. I am stoked to be able to support my friends that are in it. I cater a little bit, so I still cook. I've got my fingers in it. I think there's a lot that was learned in COVID. I think those of us that were kind of deep in the trenches during COVID could probably write how-to manuals for future generations on how to be resilient and how to think on your feet. And it definitely pulled a lot out of me that I didn't realize I had, a lot of resolve that I didn't realize I had, a lot of creativity I didn't know I had. And yeah, I mean, overall, like when we sold the restaurant in January, we were lucky enough that somebody approached us and asked to buy. We didn't have to list and all that stuff. Part of me felt like I had failed because I wasn't willing to keep it going. Part of me felt like maybe it was 6 wasted years. But the other part of it too was that built a ton of relationships, and learned so much, that is applicable in my job now, that it'll be applicable in my life in general, and that can be applicable for me to help other friends out with and give them a little bit of knowledge on their journeys.
No, for sure. I always say, and the old manager of mine said that if everybody could work at least 6 months in the restaurant industry upon their high school graduation, the world would be a much better place. So,
yeah, my kid's first job is going to be in a dish pit. You can guarantee that.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm going to echo what Robin said. Thanks for your time, pal. Really appreciate it. It's great seeing you.
Appreciate
I haven't
it.
seen you
Thank you.
in ages. It's virtual, but still. Yeah, next time maybe we can do this in person with a beer or something like that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Look forward to
Okay.
it.
Well, so Robin, I'll do the outro. So that's it for this episode of the Hospitality Manifesto, right? And I guess we'll see people next time.
Yeah, fantastic guest, Steve. Thank you very much. I thought that there was a lot of great insight into the thinking of behind an owner that is got this in his face and was able to put on his big boy pants and come up with some great ideas. So I thought great guest, did lots of learning in there, and fantastic. And then we'll see you again next time on the Hospitality Manifesto.